My cousin mocked my job in front of everyone until her boss arrived at the family party and made me his manager. It was the annual summer get-together at my uncle's house, the kind of gathering where plastic chairs clattered on the wooden deck, distant cousins played volleyball on the grass, and someone always brought a half-deflated bouncy castle for the younger kids. The grill smoked on one end of the yard, and folding tables were stacked with oversauced ribs and sweet corn. It was the kind of party where everyone showed up with something to prove. And no one tried harder than my cousin, Vanessa. She was already there when I arrived, wearing a bright blue dress and heels that sank into the lawn with every step. Her hair was freshly done, her smile polished like it belonged on a brochure, and her voice, that voice, carried across the backyard before I even reached the gate. Well, well, she chirped as I walked in, arms folded, lips curled into that familiar smirk. Still doing your little side hustle thing, huh? I nodded, not because she deserved a response, but because I knew what was coming. The same routine. She always needed an audience. She made sure her voice traveled. Must be nice not having any real responsibilities, she said, loud enough that Uncle Pete and half the cousins turned their heads. A few chuckled, most out of awkward habit. I smiled back politely and headed toward the cooler, pretending her words slid right off. I didn't argue, didn't defend myself. That wasn't my style. Let her have her moment. She always did. What she didn't know, and what I hadn't told a soul, was that 3 days ago, I had been offered a position at Oak Ridge Dynamics. The same company she never stopped bragging about. The same name she dropped in every conversation like it was her last name. She'd worked there for 2 years, always talking about the team, about executive meetings, and how the CEO personally thanked me for staying late. She called it her second home. I called it ironic. I hadn't just been offered a role. I was given a leadership position, one that meant I would be stepping in as the team manager for their digital operations division, the very team she worked under. And the kicker? Her current boss, Daniel Hargrove, was attending the party, a personal friend of my uncle. That part, Vanessa didn't know either. She thought he was considering it, but my uncle had already confirmed the RSVP. Daniel was coming, and she couldn't wait to show off in front of him. So I waited. I mingled with the others, chatted about harmless topics, sports, vacation spots, the sudden rise in gas prices. All while she hovered close, slipping in comments like, "Not everyone can handle the corporate world, you know? Some people just aren't cut out for structure. I guess some jobs just don't come with retirement plans." Each jab was followed by a sugar-coated laugh, like she was being playful, but her eyes always scanned the crowd to make sure people were listening. That was the point. She didn't insult in private. She wanted a stage. And I gave it to her. I let the silence stretch. I nodded. I even made a few jokes at my own expense just to keep the peace. Not because I was weak, because I knew what was coming. The front gate creaked open around 3:30. Heads turned. A tall man in a slate-gray blazer stepped through. Daniel Hargrove. Mid-40s, square-shouldered, calm expression. He looked exactly like someone who made big decisions before breakfast. Vanessa's posture straightened immediately. She brushed invisible lint from her sleeve, stepped out of the circle she was in, and walked toward him with open arms. "Mr. Hargrove," she beamed. "You made it." He smiled politely, but his eyes drifted past her. Just over her shoulder, he saw me, standing near the drinks table with a paper plate in my hand. His face lit up in a way hers didn't. "There you are," he said, walking past her. He extended his hand toward me. "Glad to see you again. The team's excited to have you as their new manager." The words hung in the air like someone had cut the music. Her smile froze. People turned. My uncle blinked in confusion. Daniel clapped me on the back like we were old friends, and in truth, we kind of were. We'd worked together briefly during a consulting project last fall, and when a management position opened up, he'd called me personally. Vanessa looked like someone had just yanked the ground from under her. She stood still, lips parted slightly, like she was still waiting for a punchline that never came. "You two know each other?" someone asked, probably just to break the silence. Daniel nodded. "Oh yeah, we go way back. Can't tell you how lucky we are to have him on board." He starts Monday. After Daniel's announcement, everything changed, but no one dared say it outright. The conversation around the grill slowed, laughter took on a nervous edge, and even the kids seemed to quiet down. That kind of moment doesn't vanish with time or distraction. It lingers, especially when it dismantles someone's pride. Vanessa didn't speak to me for the next hour, which might have been the longest she'd gone without some kind of passive jab since we were teenagers. She kept close to the patio table where her parents sat, occasionally glancing my way like she was trying to figure out if it had all actually happened. Her smile, the one she wore like armor, had vanished entirely. I didn't rub it in. That wasn't the point. I wasn't looking for revenge. I had no interest in watching her squirm or feel embarrassed. I'd already moved past it. But her silence wasn't guilt or reflection. It was calculation. Vanessa was never the type to simply accept defeat. She'd start plotting the next angle the moment she felt cornered. Daniel didn't linger long, maybe half an hour. He made small talk with my uncle, gave a few handshakes, and took a quick photo with one of the kids who somehow knew who he was. Then he waved goodbye and told me he'd see me at headquarters Monday morning. The moment he stepped off the lawn, Vanessa finally approached. "Can I talk to you?" she asked, voice lower than usual. I followed her around the side of the house, behind the fence, where the rest of the family couldn't hear. Her arms were crossed, and her expression was calm, but her eyes were restless. "So, you didn't think to mention this before?" she said, forcing a laugh that didn't reach her face. "You've known Daniel this whole time?" I shrugged. "We worked on a project together a while back." "Right, but you never said anything. Not even a hint. You never asked. You just assumed." She blinked, caught off guard by the flatness in my tone. I wasn't interested in softening the truth. She'd made a habit of treating me like an easy target at every gathering. This time, she had no cover. Vanessa looked away, then back. "So you're my manager now." I didn't answer. "That's unexpected." Still nothing. "Look, I wasn't trying to insult you. You know how family is. We joke around. It's just how we talk." "You weren't joking," I said. "You meant every word." She frowned. "I didn't think you were taking it seriously." "I didn't," I said. "That's the difference between us. You talk, I listen. But eventually, the noise clears and people see who's actually building something and who's just performing." That landed hard. She wasn't used to me responding directly. Usually, I let things slide. But the silence from earlier had drawn a line, and neither of us could pretend anymore. "You don't know what I deal with at that company," she said after a pause. "It's not all easy. I put in long hours. I earn my place. I'm not questioning your effort. I'm saying your attitude made you blind to the fact that other people are moving forward too, just not in the ways you expect." Vanessa exhaled sharply and glanced toward the backyard, where the laughter had started again. Someone must have brought out a game. She didn't move. "I guess I'm going to have to get used to seeing you in meetings," she said. "Yeah," I replied. "And this time, you'll have to listen." She left without another word. I stayed behind the fence a little longer, giving her space to rejoin the others. I wasn't angry, just done pretending. Something had shifted, and everyone felt it. Back inside the house, the air conditioning was running strong. I headed to the kitchen to grab a refill, and that's where I found Aunt Lisa, Vanessa's mom. She was slicing fruit at the counter, but her hands paused the moment she saw me. "Heard the news," she said, without looking up. "That's quite the promotion." I nodded. "Appreciate it." She gave a stiff smile. "Vanessa's been working hard. Maybe now you two can collaborate better." "Maybe," I said, choosing not to commit to anything. She didn't say more. I didn't stay. The rest of the afternoon rolled forward with a strange, unspoken awareness. No one brought up the job. No one asked follow-up questions. The cousin who had laughed the loudest earlier now avoided my gaze. The uncle who once gave me unsolicited advice about real careers kept his head in his phone. Conversation shifted from finance and careers to weather and barbecue recipes. That was the thing about families, they adapted quickly, but never forgot. By evening, the crowd started thinning. Chairs folded up. Coolers were emptied and dumped. Vanessa left without saying goodbye. Her car door slammed with a little too much force. On the drive home, I didn't replay the scene. I didn't smile or relive her reaction. I thought about what Monday would look like. Not because I wanted to prove something to her, but because I knew my work was just starting. Leadership came with weight. It wasn't about settling scores. It was about showing I could carry more than anyone expected. That night, my phone buzzed. It was an email from HR, onboarding documents, team structures, and my new company email already set up. My name at the top, followed by my title. No noise. No spotlight. Just the next step. Then a second message came through. This one from Vanessa. Subject, about today. Body, let's just keep things professional. See you Monday. I didn't respond. Not out of spite. I just didn't see the point. The time for back and forth was over. We were coworkers now. And coworkers don't argue over folding chairs and fruit platters. They show up, do the work, and let performance speak louder than memories. Monday morning came quickly. I arrived 15 minutes early, not because I was trying to impress anyone, but because I always preferred to ease into a new environment. The office lobby was sleek, modern, glass-walled, just like I remembered from the consulting gig. A woman at the front desk greeted me and handed me my badge. She'd already printed it. My picture. My name. Manager, Digital Operations Division. Daniel met me near the elevators and gave me a quick tour of the floor, pointing out where the departments were and who I'd be managing directly. He didn't over-explain. He knew I didn't need it. That was part of why he hired me. He respected quiet competence. My new office was tucked between two departments. Glass walls again. Clean desk. Empty whiteboard. You'll be in charge of this whole floor by Q4 if things go the way I expect, he said. No pressure. I just nodded. That kind of challenge was the reason I took the job. About 30 minutes in, my team started filing into the meeting room for the first briefing. 10 people. Some fresh faces, some experienced. Vanessa came in last, wearing a fitted blazer and holding a notepad like it might shield her from the room. She sat at the far end of the table. Didn't speak. Didn't look up. I began the meeting without any acknowledgement of the past weekend. I laid out the current projects, outlined the immediate goals, and walked them through how I operated. Clear expectations. Open communication. No fluff. No one questioned the structure. They followed along. Took notes. Some nodded in agreement. One of the older team members even leaned forward halfway through and said, "Finally, someone with a plan." Vanessa stayed quiet. When the meeting ended, people filtered out with the usual murmurs and side conversations. Vanessa stayed back, still seated, her pen between her fingers. "That was solid," she said finally, glancing at the whiteboard. "You've done this before." I met her gaze. "Plenty of times." She nodded. "All right, that was it. No sarcasm. No jokes. Just acknowledgement." The day moved forward. Emails, team check-ins, one-on-ones. My calendar filled quickly, but my focus stayed sharp. Every hour that passed, it became clearer this wasn't some fluke. I wasn't a novelty. I was the right fit. And people were already starting to lean in, asking for input, adjusting to my style. Even Vanessa didn't push back. She worked like she had something to prove, but this time, her energy wasn't pointed at me. It was directed at the work. By the second week, the office had adjusted. Faces no longer looked surprised when I walked past. Conversations didn't pause when I entered a room. I wasn't new anymore. I was the standard. My name came up in every planning call, every decision chain, every calendar invite that used to skip my cousin entirely. The job moved fast. I restructured timelines, cleared old bottlenecks, and gave clear direction where before there had been noise and indecision. I wasn't interested in micromanaging. I just set the bar and watched who reached it. Most of the team adjusted well. A few thrived. Vanessa did neither. She worked hard, too hard sometimes. Stayed late, double-checked everything, but she did it with a tension that never left her shoulders. It wasn't about the job anymore. It was about regaining control of the narrative. In her mind, she had slipped from the spotlight, and I hadn't just taken her seat, I had redrawn the stage. 3 weeks in, a cross-departmental initiative launched. My team was leading it. I assigned Vanessa as the internal coordinator, giving her control over key communications, timelines, and integration between departments. I didn't do it as a favor. She had the experience. She was qualified. But I also knew the position would test her. It required collaboration, humility, and a willingness to be led. All the things she had spent years avoiding. She didn't argue. She accepted the assignment and said nothing else. The kickoff meeting went well. People respected the direction. Feedback came in quick and positive. It wasn't just that the structure made sense, it was that the friction was gone. For the first time, different branches of the company were moving in sync. A week into the initiative, Daniel called me into his office. "Whatever you're doing," he said, "keep doing it. You've cleaned up a mess that's been here longer than you know." I nodded. "Appreciate it." He leaned forward. "Vanessa, how's she adjusting?" "She's quiet, focused. She's doing the work." He didn't push further. He didn't have to. The subtext was there. She wasn't the golden employee anymore, and even he had noticed the shift. Back on the floor, I kept my focus on results. I didn't play favorites. I didn't settle scores. I just kept moving. And slowly, the old stories faded. The ones that painted me as the cousin with no direction, or the guy with a gig instead of a job. They disappeared without needing correction. The proof lived in the pace of progress. Then came the quarterly review. Each department presented its numbers. I went first. Our charts were sharp. Our growth was clear. Questions were few. Daniel looked satisfied. The board members nodded. Other teams followed, some more prepared than others. Vanessa sat in the back, clipboard in hand, her eyes never leaving the screen as each slide passed. Her part came near the end, a 5-minute recap on internal alignment progress. She spoke clearly. Her data was clean. And when she finished, she paused, looked across the room, and then looked at me. "I'd like to add one thing," she said. "The results you're seeing aren't just from coordination. They're from structure, clarity. And that started when our team got new leadership." She didn't say my name. She didn't need to. Everyone knew what she meant. I didn't smile. I didn't nod. I just let her finish. After the meeting, she passed me in the hall. For the first time, she didn't look like she had something else to prove. "I meant what I said," she told me. "I know," I replied. There was a pause, brief but full. "I thought I had things figured out," she said, glancing toward the floor. "But I've been chasing the wrong kind of approval." "Everyone has their version of that," I said. "Yours just talked louder than most." She nodded once. "I'll do better." I didn't need to respond. The apology had already been spoken, just not in the form most people look for. Her words in the review room carried more weight than any private admission ever could. The next few weeks were steady. No drama. No undercurrents. Just work. Vanessa kept her head down, but not in shame, in focus. She learned to listen more, to ask when she didn't know, to take feedback without defending it. She grew in ways I hadn't expected. Not all people change, but some surprise you. One Friday afternoon, near the end of the quarter, Daniel asked if I wanted to join the leadership retreat the next month. It wasn't just symbolic. It meant I was part of the core circle, the people who shaped the company long term. I accepted. As I packed up that day, Vanessa stopped by my office. She leaned on the door frame, arms crossed, not in the defensive way she used to, but in thought. "You're leaving early?" she asked. "Just wrapping up for the week." She hesitated. "You remember last year? At the barbecue." "I remember." She looked at the floor again, then back up. "I didn't just mock you because I thought it was funny. I was scared. You were comfortable with not being seen." I couldn't handle that. "I wasn't comfortable," I said. "I just didn't need a stage." That landed harder than I expected. She nodded slowly. "I'm still learning how to be okay with that." "You're getting there," I said. She didn't reply. She turned to leave, but paused. "If you ever need someone to lead a future initiative, I'd like the chance." "I'll keep that in mind." When she walked off, she didn't glance back. That was the last real conversation we had about the past. And it was enough. The barbecue came around again months later. Same folding chairs. Same noisy cousins. Same smell of grilled meat and half-eaten corn on the cob. But this time, no jabs. No laughter at someone else's expense. Vanessa greeted me normally. No performance. Just respect. Daniel didn't show this year. He didn't need to. The story had already played out. My uncle asked how work was going. I gave a short answer. He nodded and moved on. Nothing more had to be said. Everyone knew.